no doubt about it. Hey, 24/7, like I say, old Golden Mushroom was representing real good today, and you represent.
So on the bench today, let's go ahead and turn her off here. We have a Pearce Simpson. This is a model Tiger Mark II. Now I just did another radio for this customer. It was also a Tiger, but it was a Tiger 40. So this is a Tiger Mark II. Different circuit boards, but very, very, very similar. One big difference is this is a 23 channel radio. The other one was a 40 channel radio. Now the front panel layout is exactly the same. Actually, it's the same faceplate other than the lettering right here. But it has a 40 channel dial on it. Now this is just like the other one. Has a manual dial, so it does not have LED display. Now this is, I guess you could call it a late and early radio. It's a very, very late 23 channel radio, but very, very early PLL synthesized radio. So this would be one of the first, or a very early radio that used a one-chip wonder, or a PLL synthesizer. So just like the Tiger 40, this has a PLL O2A IC in it. So this radio will easily do a boatload of channels. And what a lot of manufacturers did, it actually, if you look at the timing and the radios that a lot of manufacturers produced right around the end of the 23 channel era, the last one or two radios they built, you'll notice that they've gone from crystal mixed radios or crystal mixed synthesizing to using a PLL chip. So again, like I say, this one was late, probably because it was right in 77 when you went from 23 to 40 channels. So, this was kind of right at the end, and then it was right after this when they came out with the Tiger 40. And that's why the boards look so similar. They basically changed the rotary encoder, or not rotary encoder, the channel selector switch from this one here that actually has 3 sections to a 1 section in the 40 channel radio. But the internals are very similar. The layout's actually fairly similar too. The location of a lot of the adjustments. So like for the RF meter, the squelch, what do we got? Let's see, it's modulation here, RF power meter. A lot of the, your transmit circuit flows basically back along here and along the back side. Your receive audio starts here and goes the other direction, comes back around this way. The layout's the same. The PLL is in the same location. Their components are moved around a little bit because this is a different board. So this, just like the other one, this is a Cybernet chassis. So it has a PTBM 033 AOX, where the Tiger 40 has a PTBM 040, I think it was 049 AOX, either 48 or 49. I think it's 49 though. But yeah, like I say, very, very similar chassis. The parts layout's almost exactly the same. The only real difference is the channel selector. The IC's the same. It's just how many pins and what they're programming it with the channel selector. So the radio performs almost exactly the same as that one. Receive and transmit, because it is basically the same. So I just thought I'd show this really quick. Like I say, this one's another one in nice condition. Now this one, the customer did not get this one in the box, but it is used, but it's in really nice shape. You can see the bezel's nice and shiny, and it works fine. So the only things that have been done to this one is, just like the other radio, I replaced all the electrolytic capacitors. And the same as with that one, he wanted the microphone on this radio rewired to 4-pin Cobra. So the radio's been rewired as well as the microphone's been rewired. And as you can see, it also has a factory Pearce Simpson microphone with it, which, suspiciously looks just like the Cobra, the Cobra coffin mics. Actually, a lot of companies use that same microphone case back then. So, and just like the other one, because the pinout was exactly the same on both those radios, so it's the audio and the shields get reversed, and the receive and the transmit wires get reversed. So pins 1 and 2, so if you own one of this vintage Pearce Simpson radios, and you want to convert the radio and the microphones over to 4-pin, pins 1 and 2 get reversed, and then pins 3 and 4, the wires get reversed on them. So, you can just take the shroud off your mic plug, swap 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and the same thing on the inside of the radio. And then if you want to use another microphone with this radio, you only have one really good high-end microphone, like a Turner or an A-Static or something. You can use it on several radios, but then you don't need mic adapters. It's already 4-pin. It's just a matter of moving a couple wires around and you're done. But, so there you go. Like I said, I just thought I'd really quick show the insides of this one. A lot of times people don't show everyday average run-of-the-mill AM radios. Now, by today's standards, this is actually a very high-quality radio compared to the build quality of honestly, a lot of the junk that they're making nowadays. This is a Cybernet. They made really nice radios, just like Uniden. I mean, it was a war. In the 70s and the 80s, man, it was, all that. It was like World War III going on for, domination of the CB market. And the two big manufacturers that were making circuit boards back then was Cybernet and Uniden. So, yeah, if one company had one that was better than the other, they were going to get a reputation and you were going to go to shit. So, the competition made, let them, let a lot of really good chassis be made back then. But, so here's a good radio, while I'm on it. This is a radio, or the type of radio that you can pick up cheap. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a Pearce Simpson. It can be any manufacturer. But like I say, a lot of manufacturers, you'll find that the last couple radios they made in the 23-channel era will have a PLL chip. So like I say, PLL O2A, extremely popular and extremely easy to modify for additional channels. And that being the point here. So a lot of people would look at this radio and say, well, what use is it? It's only 23 channels. Well, honestly, the only thing holding you at 23 channels is this channel selector switch, because that PLL down there can do way more than that. So you can easily modify this to get all 40 channels. So, you can pick something like this up at a flea market, on, Feebay, or anywhere. Don't be afraid to pick up a radio like this. Do a quick recap job on it and a transceiver alignment, and with a really simple modification to this, you can easily put this thing into 40 channels. So you've got yourself a radio that, is going to receive and transmit, honestly, better than a lot of the radios made today. It's a lot higher quality. And as far as needing a switch, well, you actually have a 3-position switch you could use, because there is a useless control on this radio. Now, because it's PLL synthesized, you really don't need this receivo slide. So that's a delta tune, clarifier, whatever you want to call it. But it's not a potentiometer, just like the Pearce Simpson, and we went out of focus. So just like the Pearce Simpson Tiger 40, it's just a 3-position switch. So there's a switch you could very, very easily repurpose for a 3-position switch for channel modification. So, you could have it in the center as your standard 23-channel radio, and then you'd have 1 and 2 other positions. So, you don't even have to mess with these switches, so you don't lose any functions that you really might want to keep with the radio. Delta tunes, honestly, have no place on a radio that is PLL synthesized. They're just as stable as they are. It's a useless feature. It's kind of a carryover from the 23-channel era. Back when radios were crystal synthesized, and when you went from channel to channel, you were changing crystals. 2 crystals would mix for channel 1, and then you'd have that crystal, the first crystal, and then a different crystal for channel 2. The first crystal, and then a third crystal for channel 3. And, eventually you'd get to where the first crystal, that one would get switched over to a different one, and it would go through, and usually blocks of 4 and 4. So for every 4 channels, it would swap a crystal, and then there'd be 4 other crystals that would swap between on those. But, like I say, so they're very easy to modify to get 40 channels, and from the outside, you'd never know. Like I say, you can use this kind of useless, unneeded delta tune, clarifier, receivo slide. That was their little, trademark thing they called it, the receivo slide. But yeah, so it's, don't be afraid to buy something like this. You can oftentimes pick up a really, really nice radio like this. It's going to far exceed the quality, just the build. It's a more durable radio built like a tank. And it's real easy to turn into a 40-channel radio. So there you go, the Pearce Simpson Tiger Mark II.